Hello and welcome to Birmingham City University's College of English and Media Inspired Show. We're so proud of all of our students here at Birmingham City University, and today we're really excited to celebrate their hard work and achievements. Here in the studio, we're surrounded by some fantastic work, from photography to poems and documentaries to magazines, all showcasing the amazing range of work produced by our talented students. On the sofa, I'm joined by 4 students who are nearing the end of their studies on courses where they've had a chance to develop skills and knowledge that they will need to succeed in industry. We'll be talking about their passion projects, the hard work that went into making them, and more generally about their time at BCU and finding out their next steps. So let's meet them. From the far end, we have Paul Robert, Lauren Redfern, Poppy Herbert, and first I'll be speaking to Emil Phillip. Welcome to the Inspired Show. Emil is a final year BA Honours Media Production student and has produced some truly impressive work throughout her time at BCU. Thanks for joining us, Emil. What's your experience been like at BCU?
It's been amazing. I still can't remember why has it been 3 years already. That was like really, it doesn't seem that long ago. Yeah,
I think that's the thing, we're going to find that 3 years have passed really quickly.
Yeah.
We're going to see a clip of your film, The Velicha Padu. Tell us a little bit about it.
It was, first of all, a very big passion project. Being a person who kind of grew up Indian outside of India, I really wanted to get back into India, identify my roots and get close to it. And that's when, this kind of concept came in. It's been a really, inviting journey. It's about a ritualistic oracle that's present in our culture back in Kerala, the state that I'm from in India. And it's amazing.
Let's take a look.
അതെ ഈ വെളിച്ചപ്പാടെന്താ?
വെളിച്ചപ്പാട് നമ്മളെപ്പോലെ തന്നെ ഒരു സാധാരണക്കാരനാണ്. പക്ഷെ അയാൾക്കൊരു പ്രത്യേകതരം കഴിവുണ്ട്. അയാൾ ദൈവത്തിൻ്റെ വാക്കിനും ആൾക്കാരിലേക്കുള്ളൊരു വഴികാട്ടിയും കൂടിയാണ്. കാലിൽ തലയും കയ്യിൽ വാളും ഒരു ചുമപ്പ് വെളിച്ചം പോലെ അയാൾ ദൈവത്തിനെ ഉള്ളിൽ പ്രവേശിപ്പിച്ച് ദൈവത്തിൻ്റെ വാക്കുകൾ നമ്മളിലേക്ക് എത്തിക്കും. മന്ത്രം പോലെ തോന്നുമെങ്കിലും ഇതിലൊരു സത്യമുണ്ട്.
വെളിച്ചപ്പാട് എന്നുള്ള ആ ഒരു സങ്കല്പം തലമുറകളിലൂടെ രൂപപ്പെട്ട ഒരു ആചാരത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമാണ്. അതൊരു വിശ്വാസത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമാണ്. കാവുകളിലോ മറ്റ് ആരാധനാ സ്ഥാനങ്ങളിലോ പ്രത്യക്ഷപ്പെടുന്ന ദേവതയുടെ പ്രതിപുരുഷന്മാരായിട്ടാണ് വെളിച്ചപ്പാടുകൾ പ്രത്യക്ഷപ്പെടുന്നത്. ഭക്തന്മാരുടെയും ദേവതയുടെയും ഇടനിലക്കാരൻ എന്ന നിലയിൽ യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ ദേവതയായി തന്നെ പ്രത്യക്ഷപ്പെടുന്ന ഒരാളാണ് വെളിച്ചപ്പാട്.
So it's a truly kind of cinematic experience and filmed beautifully, but a really ambitious project. How did you arrange to film with the Velicha Padu?
So obviously all of the oracles or Velichapada as we see them, they were introduced to us by the Kerala Folklore Academy in a district called Kannur in Kerala. And it was really interesting because I was back here in UK kind of arranging it, and I never got to see anybody in person. So it had to be kind of, us going down there during production, meeting with them, making sure that everything, was in line and okay for them to contribute with us. But also there was this challenge of, kind of filming respectfully, because they are oracles. They are, these divine people that kind of intermediate between, goddesses and human beings. So, it was a really tough but, gratifying process.
And How challenging was it to film abroad? So obviously you grew up in Dubai, you studied here in Birmingham, but then you went to film in India.
I feel like I said before, it was more of like, getting back to the roots. So I really wanted to do a project in India, but I was not sure what yet. And that's when this came up, and it was really hard because obviously there's the travel from UK to India, and obviously getting equipment and getting crew and all of that stuff. So that was kind of the hard part, but the good part of it was the people were more free. You could talk to them. Obviously they included a bit of kind of getting them to understand the film perspective of things and asking if it was okay to film one of their rituals, because these are remote places in Kerala that don't necessarily get this type of attention. So that was kind of new to them. And luckily they were very cooperative, and they were allowed and they allowed us to kind of come in and film whatever they let us do.
And you ended up with a 30-minute film. So how long did you film for, and how long did it take you to edit all the footage down?
It was a 1-week production process, so we had filming back to back, so 7 days entirely, and then it took about, I think, a month and a half for just the edit, and then the music and everything to kind of come in would have been another 15 days.
And you had the music specially commissioned?
Yes, in India as well. He is a music composer in Kerala, in a district called Kochi. And he commissioned the music for us on request.
What kind of lasting impression has this experience left on you?
It's been really eye-opening, because obviously it's my first time making a documentary, and to this level at least. And obviously it's been really nice, especially seeing the type of responses it's getting. So I put it on YouTube, and it's already on like 720 views. So the responses that I'm getting from people in UK, in Dubai, back in India as well, is really nice, and it's kind of made me explore something new.
And you're not averse to trying new things, because in your final year you also produced another very impactful production, recording a podcast documentary following the West Midlands paramedics, and you followed them on a shift. How did that happen? Because it's not easy to get access to stuff like that.
I think that came out. So I was on a BCU mentorship program during that period, and my mentor was this woman called Charlotte from the Warsaw Council, and she had contacts in the West Midlands ambulance department, and they kind of put me through the line and said that I could come and film, and I did it over a shift, morning to evening, I think, in Eddington.
That's amazing. Let's have a listen.
The first call comes in.
This is an adult male coming up as cardiac arrest. I'm about 8 minutes away.
Every second counts as the team race to his home.
So he was in cardiac arrest. We've resuscitated him. His heart is now beating. He's got a rhythm to it. However, he's not breathing for himself. So we've done all his observations. We've been given adrenaline, and then obviously we've pre-alerted to the hospital to let them know that we're coming.
The team hands over the patient to the hospital staff, ensuring all the details are communicated clearly and all the possible paperwork are completed.
Normally in this circumstance, we have things called like respect forms. So at that age, we'd expect somebody to have some type of wishes in place. This patient in particular, this was unwitnessed, so nobody had saw it. I think his wife had heard a bang and then come down to see him. He was lay on the floor. Although he was 99, he wasn't that frail. He looked like he was managing well at home. So you take in the circumstance. We'll always take the family into consideration. It's a very distressing scene for them. So as his wife was quite upset and wished for him to be resuscitated, so on the grounds of that, we decided to start the resuscitation because the timings worked out. There was no rules and regulations stopping us from doing it. It's what his wife wished, so to fulfill her wishes and to make her feel a bit more at ease with the stressful situation.
That's, tremendous access. It's akin to something like 24 hours in A&E that you may see on BBC or Channel 4. So well done for getting that done. What do you have planned post-graduation?
I obviously want to get into working. I want to understand what the industry kind of requires and then go away and do my master's. But for now, it's to continue making my passion projects, stuff that, makes an impact. Okay, so I had this professor of mine who used to say that whatever you create, make sure that it makes people feel something. So I think I'm going to continue doing that.
I wonder who that is. Okay, thank you so much, Emil Philip. Next up, we have Poppy Herbert, is a final year BA Honours Music Industry student who has produced a series of zines called Time Capsule for her major project, focusing on 3 different genres of music. We'll see some images of her zine on the screen behind, but we're going to ask Poppy, why did you decide to create a series of zines, short magazines, for your major project?
So basically all of it was based on music memorabilia, which I'm really passionate about myself. Ever since I was little, I've always collected music memorabilia. And I've kind of always wondered, I know why I collect music memorabilia, why do other people? And seeing whether these themes can be seen within every genre and whether they're the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so you talked about genres. There are so many genres of music, but you focused on 3. So can you tell us why you picked those 3 and why they were important to you?
So the genres I selected were indie, which I kind of selected because that's a genre I'm really passionate about. That's the kind of main sort of music I listen to. Punk, because it's very DIY. I mean, zines are a massive part of it, but also I feel like music memorabilia can be seen quite commonly within it. And K-pop, because it's such a unique genre. And I feel like quite a lot of the time, people compare it to K-pop and say, oh, well, K-pop's so extreme, it's this and that. And kind of almost breaking those barriers and showing that K-pop really isn't that different to other genres.
I mean, K-pop kind of burst into the UK scene and has had a massive impact. So, what kind of response have you had to the K-pop scene?
Well, what I've realised is that a lot of things within K-pop music, like parasocial relationships and other things like that, can be seen within other genres such as indie. Like parasocial relationships are really a big emerging thing within the indie scene. And I think it's interesting because I feel like in K-pop, it's seen as like this really extreme thing. Their fandom's really extreme, but actually it's not that different to these other scenes.
So you found kind of patterns between different scenes. Do you feel that this medium helps you to tell stories?
I wouldn't necessarily say it tells a story, but more delivers information, but in a beautiful art form that's not traditional. I feel myself, I don't like reading lots and lots constantly. So having, a word search to break it up or like some photos and stuff like that, it really makes it a lot nicer to read.
So it makes it more accessible to a wider audience, which is really good to see. So you're not just interested in written mediums, because in your second year, and this is pretty big, you organised a gig night at Dead Wax in Digburn. Tell me how that came about and how difficult it was.
So me and one of my peers, Lily Harris, we had a promotions company, Ascension Promotions, and basically from that we decided we wanted to put on an event. So we managed it from ourselves. Very luckily, Inspired Festival funded it last year and we were able to put it on. We had lots of different universities. So we had UOB and BIM. We had bands from them who came and performed for us, which brought in a really good audience. And it was really good.
It's really good to know that we were able to support something like that. And well done for delivering it. What's next for you?
Honestly, I don't know. Hopefully, eventually I'll find a job within either live music or artist management. But for now, I think if I have a full-time job, I'd like to do some freelance work, maybe work with some venues, that sort of thing.
Well, hopefully people in the audience here now or watching at home will pick up on, all of you and what you're doing and get in touch, because that would be really, really good. So give it up, please, for Poppy Herbert. Next is our very own radio star, Lauren Redfern, who, despite only handing in the final major project a few days ago, has already landed a role presenting on BBC Radio 1. Let's listen to some of Lauren's highlights.
Radio 1 Anthem. Here we go then, Radio 1 Anthems. How are we doing? It's Lauren Redfern, and for the next couple of hours, I've got a huge sing-along soundtrack. This is Radio 1 Anthems. Full of all the best nostalgic tunes. Just like this track, nearly 20 years old. It's Sexy Back.
I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah.
Oh, it is such a happy tune, isn't it? I've never been to Glastonbury, right, but I imagine you feel like how this song makes you feel when you're there. You know, we're singing, we're dancing, our arms up are in the air, we're shaking our hair about, we're absolutely loving life, we love each other. Oh, get me to Glastonbury already. I've got Sigala's Easy Love for You in a sec. But it's that huge 99 Souls track we all love when it starts playing in the club. It's The Girl Is Mine.
I remember listening to you on Anthems over Christmas, and I think I myself and a number of my colleagues were incredibly proud of you listening to you there.
Aww.
You've had quite a journey over the last 3 years, and it's fair to say that you've known from day one what you wanted to do after graduation. So tell us about when your passion for working in radio started.
So I pretty much started out in performing before I ever decided to come into media. And I did a year at another university before even coming here. And I think I just got to that point where I'd done lots of jobs abroad. And I thought, oh, it's not really cutting it for me anymore. Like, what can I do? I started a podcast in lockdown and thought, yeah, do you know what? Like, this is a bit of me. I could maybe get into this a little bit more. So before enrolling to BCU through clearing, which was like a very last minute decision, I went and got a voluntary role at my community station, which was Black Country Radio, and have been doing that for 3 years, obviously alongside the course. But I think pretty much as soon as I started producing and presenting, I thought, yeah, I think it's radio where I'm going to excel. I think it's where I could maybe see myself in the future.
And we are very, very happy that you came through clearing, and we are very, very proud that you have been on our course. How did the opportunity come about to work for Radio 1?
So I did lots of researching and digging into press releases, and I was looking at who was new presenting on the station. Came across one of all the new early breakfast presenters, messaged all of them and was like, how are you getting on this station? Like, it's that weird gap between going from the voluntary unpaid stuff to the paid. So I messaged one guy and he said, if you're not a member of your student station, then you need to join there and go to the student radio conference, which happens every year. So I joined Scratch, which is BCU's station. And then I signed up to the conference, which was happening in Leeds. So I went there last year. And basically it's like a massive conference. It blew my mind how well respected it is with industry. And they basically do a competition every year, which is called Demo Factor. And it's a little bit like a Britain's Got Talent thing. It's very nerve-wracking. You submit your presenter demo and there's a judging panel of industry, and they can either buzz you out if they don't like your demo, which you're just sat there thinking, please don't buzz me out, or they can give you the golden buzzer. And luckily for me, I got a few golden buzzers, won the competition, and the head of Radio 1 was on the panel. So it kind of went from there. And I think I've just dropped lucky with the fact that Anthems was coming up. They were thinking we need some presenters for this. And luckily my energy matched what they were looking for. So it kind of just all fell into place over this last year.
That's brilliant. I think, well, the head of Radio 1 is Aled. And I worked with him way back in 1998 when Eurovision was in Birmingham. We were both runners then. So he's obviously got very good taste. I'm very proud to see you there.
I'll tell him.
How did you find out? How did you feel when you found out about you'd be presenting on Radio 1? I remember you sending us an email.
Yeah.
But how did you feel?
Well, I was actually in Neil's lesson at the time, Neil, the radio lecturer, and I saw Aled's message come through and I was thinking, oh my goodness, because I'd done a couple of pilots for them. I was thinking, it's either going to be good news or bad news. I ran out. And for him to phone me and say, we want you on 3 shows across the schedule for the new stream, I was just like, oh my goodness, like this is like my dream job that you've just given me, and I've just started 3rd year. Like, what a time for it to come round. But yeah, for him to say that was one thing, but then for him to say we want you to launch it live on Greg James, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm not ready for that. What on earth? But it's been a whole graft this year, and then this month I've just dropped early breakfast, so I'm on throughout the entirety of June, every Friday at 5 a.m. But I don't expect anyone to get up at 5 a.m.
We should, but let's just go back to Greg James, because I think you made a certain radio lecturer very famous on that show.
I did, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so they were like, oh, well, actually, I was going to your lesson afterwards. So I was on Greg at like 8:30 in the morning. And at 1 o'clock, the lecture started. So I was like, I've got to actually go back to uni now. They're like, who's your lecturer? I was like, Neil. And everyone was in the studio Googling Neil. Like, oh, he's a bit of a silver fox, isn't he? They're all on it.
That's brilliant. So radio is one thing, but you've been doing other presenting as well. Tell us about some of your other presenting work that you've done.
Yeah, so throughout, obviously, the course of the 3 years, like dropping Radio 1 in third year was great, but I've done lots of other different bits throughout lots of different work experiences. So I did some bits podcasting, some bits in a marketing agency, and through all of that and networking, you get to meet other people. And I came across some people who run a awards company in Birmingham, and they host all their events over at the East Side Rooms, which is just over the road. And I was doing some red carpet bits with them, which is right up my street. So lots of like improvisation, vox pops, when you're interviewing people at the beginning of the night and everyone's sober, no one really wants to have an interview with you. And then you get towards the 10 o'clock mark and everyone wants to be on the mic. So yeah, that's really good. And I'm doing some bits with them in the next couple of weeks as well.
Let's have a look at you in action.
Welcome everyone. Tonight we are at the Women in Tech Awards 2024, being hosted right here at the beautiful East Side Rooms. We're going to go and find out why we think it's important that women in tech should be celebrated. Follow me, let's go. Ooh, look at me, I look cute. New hair, new nails, who is you? This outfit, giving body, fresh face, period. Am I single? Am I taken? I want to know, why is it important to be celebrating women in tech, especially in Birmingham?
Because there aren't enough of us. We have a human approach to tech. We see tech in a different way, and how you can use it for much more empathetic and kind of human responses. So for me, it's the kind of emotional side of tech that's important, why women are involved.
I love it. There's lots of girl power in the room tonight.
I'm a vibe, they mad, I got the juice, they press. We should be celebrated every day.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Good energy around me, lemon stress.
I'm here with Dan Barlow, judge at the Women in Tech Awards.
Do you know what? Tonight is so exciting, isn't it? I think celebrating the successes of all these amazing tech women in the West Midlands. It's just, the stories I've heard, fascinating, absolutely brilliant. Good luck to everybody involved.
What are your plans for the future? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
On the breakfast show. No, I think if I can stay with them and stay doing bits with Radio 1 and then eventually getting a proper main slot in the schedule, then that would be me sorted.
We will be listening out for that.
Thank you.
Lauren Redfern. And you can listen to Lauren on BBC Radio 1 Early Breakfast on the next few Fridays, at least for now, at 5 a.m. So make sure you listen out to that. Finally, last but definitely not least, it's Paul Robert. Paul is a postgraduate student in his final semester on the MA Creative Writing course. He's been writing some beautiful poetry, and at the end of this show, we'll hear him perform one of his recent works. Some of it's coming up on the screen now, but Paul, where do you get inspiration from for your creative writing?
I think the inspiration can come from almost anywhere. I think it's fairly true to say you can write a poem based on almost anything, really. For me, it's difficult to, if somebody says, write a poem about this, I need to find a way in, really. So sometimes it can just be something that I've noticed or observed while I'm walking around, or something I've heard on the radio, something I've overheard someone saying. It just kind of makes me think. So I might be sort of turning over words and lines in my head, and I might sort of make a note on my phone, and then when I get home, maybe sort of try something on the laptop and see how it all fits together. So it's really just playing around with words and phrases, seeing how they fit, how they kind of chime with each other, how they work in lines, and how they might work as a poem to say something interesting.
And is it just poetry that you write, or do you get creative with words in any other way?
Poetry is the main thing that I do, but I do a bit of creative non-fiction as well. So on the course, I studied the creative non-fiction module, and I wrote a 10,000 word memoir about my experiences last year, that was quite enjoyable and quite eye-opening. I write a regular blog for Worcester Cathedral. I live in Worcester, and I'm part of the eco group there. So I write a regular sort of 500 word blog for the cathedral website on eco themes, whatever that might be.
And just this Sunday, really interesting and exciting announcement. What happened on Sunday?
Well, this week is the Worcestershire Literary Festival, and the launch event on Sunday, they announce the new Worcestershire Poet Laureate for 25-26, and this year it's me.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
How do you choose what subjects to write about?
Well, it can be, and sometimes there's a prompt, or sometimes, I do regular kind of poetry workshops with other poets, so we might have a prompt, a writing exercise, something to write about. But I think often I don't set out to write about this. I might start putting words together and write about, and it evolves, and it's a fairly sort of organic process. So sometimes you end up with something which wasn't really what you started writing about, and yet that's what it is. So it's quite exciting, really, to find out where it goes, where it's going.
And that's really interesting. So you're doing this organic process, finding out where it's going. At what point do you realise that's the end? That's the poem, and you put the pen down?
That's an interesting question. I think it's been said, I think it was Paul Weller who said, a poem is never finished, just abandoned. So I'm somebody I tend to keep going back and editing and, playing with, maybe that's not quite the right word, or maybe this line ending would be better. So I'm always kind of re-editing. I think when it feels like, someone said, oh, that works really well, or that, I really like that, then maybe that's a bit of justification to say, okay, well, maybe that one's done that. Or when it gets accepted for an anthology or something, you can maybe move on. But even then, sometimes I think, oh, maybe that wasn't quite the right word. But yeah, it's a sort of ongoing process, really.
Okay, and maybe sometimes deadlines are, that's it, I've got to
get it done. Deadlines are good,
yes. That's done. So tell us about the abandoned poem that you're going to read at the end of the show.
Well, this one hasn't been abandoned, but the poem that I'm going to read at the end of the show was one that I started writing earlier in the year. So I said earlier, I live in Worcester, where I'm part of the Worcester Arts Collective, which is a cooperative of artists sharing a rented house. I'm the only writer. The others are visual artists, painters, photographers, artists working with different media. And they really encouraged me to think about poetry as a visual art medium. So earlier in the year, they asked me to write a poem for the house. The collective is housed in a 4-story Georgian townhouse in the middle of Worcester. So it's quite sort of old-fashioned. It's quite nice, but it's quite quirky. And as I say, it's 4 stories. So I came up with the idea of writing a specular poem, which can be read from the top down, but also from the bottom up. So it's now installed on the stairwell in the house. So you can read it as you're going up the stairs as well as coming down. And the trick is to make the line endings work so that you can read the poem from the bottom up and actually hopefully makes some sense.
And that's what we're seeing on the screen right now.
That's on the screen now, yes.
And where it's been installed in the house. What have you got planned post-graduation?
Well, now, my role as Worcestershire Poet Laureate for 25-26, it's not just a title, it's a role with responsibility. So I am now going to be an ambassador for poetry throughout the county of Worcestershire, promoting poetry in schools, colleges, universities, charities, just anywhere really, trying to come up with new ideas to kind of promote poetry, to get people kind of involved in poetry, to make it more inclusive and visible for everybody.
That's absolutely amazing. I think such creativity in the room. Thank you so much, Paul. So we've heard about Paul's poem, and shortly we'll be hearing it. But first, thank you all for joining us in the studio. And if you're watching from home, as this show will be available on Parkside TV on YouTube in the coming days, we've been celebrating some of our talented and inspiring students from the College of English and Media. These are just 4 of a very talented cohort who are graduating over the next few months. Make sure to snap them up to come and work with you because there's such great talent. Goodbye and thanks for watching. And now, as promised, to end the show, here is To the Sky Through a Painted Wooden Door. Put your hands together for Paul Robert.
To the sky, through a painted wooden door, a hymn to creativity. We root, we bud, we branch in this house of leaves and seeds and garden, with media and mockery by man-made streets, littered with lines elbowed to the margins, from which we rise, unchecked we soar, to cloud blue corners deep with dark and licked with light, shaded, stippled, dappled in this place of plant and fruit and fields of reflections from somewhere, something, a screen, a paint box, a mirror, in a carpet bag, a camera, a fountain, a notebook, from which we reach to a skylight. We skim across roof slates, we build, we draw, we shoot, light with feathers, dark with wings, we flow, we fly, we fall, unnoticed, to a painted wooden door. We turn a lock, unlocked, keys jammed, carriage returned, jammed, returned, and this is how we write danger. And Olivetti becomes a dancer on the stairs, turning and turning again to an angel on the landing. We pass a breadcrumb daisy rope, a hope we can return to this place from which we can return through a painted wooden door, from a street rinsed with footnotes, ruled with boundaries, dark with signs, light from cracks, reaching aloft through a skylight to the sky.